Management planning, hopefully, for most everyone. Um, and we don't really have much to talk about this morning. Lindsay and I do want to go through record keeping and different ways to keep records. Once you have your plan completed and signed off on, hopefully we'll be able to get everything printed out for you, or you're able to print it out. You do need to keep a hard copy of the plan available at the farm in regard to regulatory requirements. So if you are a farm that will be inspected, so you're a certified small farm, medium farm, or large farm, you need to have a hard copy of your plan available at the farm. So make sure you hold on to your binder with the actual plan in it. So that if you are inspected, you're able to utilize that and show it to the inspector. Another requirement of regulatory requirement is to keep records. And there are a whole host of different records that need to be kept on a yearly basis and also made available if you are inspected. Most of these records, hopefully, you're already keeping, but if you're not, it's always great to keep records and understand, obviously, how fields are performing, and how you can tweak or modify management to get more out of the land that you utilize. So record keeping, I think everybody knows, is a good thing. It's a lot harder to practice it. And there is a means to keeping records in GoCrop, both through the web-based version that you've been using to build your plan, but also through a mobile application. So you can download GoCrop onto your phone or your tablet, and you can easily enter records that way as well. Keeping records directly in GoCrop makes everybody's life a lot easier, whether it's the inspector or yourself. When you're updating the plan, everything is there and ready to be utilized. So I don't certainly want to discourage anybody who's already got a great way of keeping records, but GoCrop is set up to be able to easily enter all the records that you need. All right, so I was going to go through the web-based version, and then I believe Lindsay's going to show you a bit about the mobile application. The mobile application, again, can be downloaded from the App Store or Google Play. And yeah, it's ready for you to use. You can access your plan from there and again, easily keep records. All right, so your plan is just that. It's a plan. Of course, hopefully you've developed it so that you can follow it. And hopefully, you know, the recommendations that you've made based on your soil test, you know, are something that you can follow or normally follow. Now, of course, things come up, right? Reality, weather, life, all these things can, you know, essentially keep you from implementing your plan 100%. But it is the expectation that what you put in your plan, unless, you know, there's some kind of issue that comes up, that's what you'll be trying to do, and that's what your records will reflect. And again, the nice thing about keeping records, if you don't already, is that your plan will become you know, more useful every year as you keep records and you better understand, you know, how the crops are doing, how much manure you're actually putting on. And again, the plan becomes far more useful if it's maintained and utilized year after year. Okay, so where do you put the records in GoCrop? And there's a couple of ways that you can enter records. So the first way is that you can go back to fields. And once you enter a field, You can see over on the left, you filled out info, rotation, crops, nutrient planning, and there's also a tab for field records. So when you're in an individual field, you can go to records. And you can enter records this way. And you can see what you're shown here is what your plan was, right? So, okay, so you can add a fertilizer record, you can add a forage test, you can add a harvest, a manure application, pest control scouting. You can basically add most anything as a record into GoCrop. Now, what you need to keep track of, from a regulatory perspective, are fertilizer applications, manure, and harvests. And in some cases, weather. It's always good to try to keep track of the weather in GoCrop, even if you don't have to, because if you end up, making a significant change in your NMP, you'll want to be able to back that up. And, if it was a weather related change, recording that will be helpful, at the end of the day. All right, so to enter a record, you can just go in and hit fertilizer as an example. You'll record the date. If it corresponds to your nutrient management plan, so I'm going to say it's the mid-June application, even though it's February. And then it asks me what type. Well, I'm going to be broadcasting it. And then ask me what fertilizer. So I select that. And then how do you want to record it? Do you want to record it as a rate of application, the total amount, or loads? Especially in the case of manure, and I'm just going to put a rate on, and I'm putting on 200 pounds to the acre. It asks you a couple of other questions about if it was incorporated and what the condition of the soil was. And again, I'm going to say it was slightly moist. Okay, so then you save it. Okay. And you can see that it's been recorded. Okay. So it records your application. And again, this is in real time. So this is what you're actually doing versus, what you had planned to do. So when you're out in the field this summer and spring, it'll show you, right, what you had planned, and it asks you, is this one of your planned applications? And you can select that. And then you, fill in the remaining information. And you can see here that it subtracts it from the recommended rate, okay? So it's keeping track of this in real time for you throughout the season. So you can see, again, you can select harvest. So here you're going to select the crop and the date. And again, you're recording this as loads, total amount, bales, and bushels in some cases. So I'm going to say in total, and then it'll ask me how many tons, and I can say I harvested 200 tons. Okay, so I put in my harvest. And you can see below the activities are showing up. So for each record, it records it, and you can see that, and you can go in and edit it if there's an issue. Okay, so again, you can add manure applications here. It asks you again, is this one of your planned activities? And I'm going to say yes. And then I'm going to record this as loads. And I'm going to record the spreader that I'm going to use. And then I'm going to say put on 20 loads, incorporated, and the soil was dry. And it just takes a minute. And you can see an error came up because it's winter and you're not supposed to be applying nutrients in the winter. So there's a error here, but obviously that won't happen during the season. All right, so it's pretty simple again. The other way that you can record records is if you go over to the left to the bigger navigation bar, you can just hit add records. And if you add records this way, you basically select the field you're going to add it to, okay? And what type of application you're going to put on, or what kind of records you're going to keep. So I'm going to, keep a scouting record, and I'm going to say this is the field behind the barn, and it's insect pest, and then I record the pest I'm looking at. I don't even know. Alfalfa snout beetle. And then you can make some notes, obviously about the pest populations were low, etc. Okay, so again, there's two ways to add records. You can add records by entering an individual field, or you can add records from the records button and select a field and add a record. And one of the things that's really nice about GoCrop, as you're putting your records in throughout the season, you can, again, see in real time the nutrients that you've added versus what was recommended to make sure you're not over applying. And then it will also calculate the P-index in real time as well. So if you planned a low P-index and you're starting to make applications possibly different than you had planned because of the weather, you can monitor your P-index and make sure that you're not over applying phosphorus. Okay, so we already talked about where to print your reports from, so I'm not going to go over that again. I think at this point, Lindsay, I'll turn it over to you if you want to talk about the mobile app. I think just one last thing, you can print the records as well, which is really handy. I know many organic producers have used GoCrop over the years to keep grazing records and the other records that are required through organic certification. And it's really handy to be able to print those reports out at the end of the year to be able to show your certifier and be ready for inspection as well. All right. So with that, Lindsay, I'll turn it over to you. You're muted if you meant to be unmuted.
There we go. Okay. All right, how are we doing now? My giant face. Okay, let's do that. Can folks hear me now?
Yes.
You can't hear Susan. Oh, okay, great. All right, we're just gonna go full speed ahead here. Let's do this for a moment and we will. All right. So I'm on an Android right now, but as Heather said, the GoCrop app is downloadable either through the Google Play Store or your iTunes app, or not your iTunes, but your iPhone app, and it's included in your subscription. So after it's downloaded, maybe it's on your home screen, maybe you have it somewhere else, but you click the icon, it'll open up. And just like your just like logging into your web browser, you will put in your login information to your GoCrop account here. So in my account here, you can see I have access to a number of different farms, and it's going to take a little bit for those farms to download. Once they do, once I have downloaded our, you have the little green arrow, so we can go into those. You go, oops, let me go into a farm that has fields that we can go into. I do that by opening up the side menu with the hamburger over here or the 3 lines. I can go back to my all farms. And when you first log in, it defaults to show you your fields. And just a quick tutorial again, if we click the hamburger, our options are we can see our farm information, which will show our nutrient sources up at the top. And there are these 2 little buttons on the bottom where we can toggle between nutrient sources and equipment. I just want to show you that this is here. That this isn't something that you will be able to change in the app. One of the key differences between the app and what you have on your web browser are that some pieces you are only able to view on the app, whereas in the browser you are able to edit. And so the nutrient sources and equipment is one of them. That's something that you can view. The main menu, you also see fields and records, and we'll get back to that in a minute. The other thing I really want to point out before we dive into fields that's really important is this up to date button in the very bottom where it says last sync was a few seconds ago. When you are out in your fields collecting data, you might not have Wi-Fi or cell connection, and that's okay because your records will get stored to your phone. But in order for your records to get uploaded into the cloud, you'll need to go to a place that has Wi-Fi or cell service in order for your records to upload. And so it's important that if you're out in the field for a few hours or whatever, that when you come back into range that you open up your app and make sure that it's actually syncing with the cloud. So we go to our fields. There's another option too that you can also view your fields by the map. And that's pretty handy too, because you can kind of scroll around and see what's where. And to access your field information via the map, you can double click on the field. And anytime you want to switch back to view your fields in a list format, you can click the hamburger in the upper right with the multiple dots. So when we go into one of our fields, again, you can see at the top we have our field records here, and we can also see a nutrient balance to the right. We're going to stick on the field records, and within that field records, there's 3 sub-tabs. The GoCrop app defaults to your records because that's where we anticipate you'll be spending most of your time on the app. And when you're in your records, you can see that you can view all of your records, and you can filter them by type. And you can also filter them of when the time period that you're interested in seeing them. From this page, you can also add your records, and you can do that by clicking the orange button in the upper right-hand corner. And from here, again, for this record, you can choose your record of interest. And let's say for here, we'll do a manure application. You can also choose any different field from this section as well, but we're going to stick with our corn field. Just like Heather showed in the web app, you do your record, date. You can choose if there's a corresponding plan application. You can write any notes that you would like. Your manure source, you'll record as load or as a spreader. And I think the one piece that I want to show you that's available on the app that is not available on the web browser is this ability to create a counter. And you can do this with harvest and also manure applications. So you choose your manure source, and to get the counter, we will do it as loads. Then we choose our spreader. And if we want to see the counter, if we're not entering a record, we want to use the counter. We're going to leave the loads as 0. And we can choose our incorporation method, and we'll click save. And then now you can see in our records, right, where we have our manure for February 14th today, you can see that there's this little counter on the right-hand side versus what you see below that with a record that's already entered. We're just going to look at that record that's already entered. Here where we can see the rate, the total amount that was applied. But when we go to our counter button here, we have in the upper right-hand corner, right next to where it says Manure application, there's 3 icons. Going from the right to left, we have the X to go out of it, the little pencil to edit it, and then the counter if we want to use it as a counter function. So we're going to click the counter function. And now what we see here is that we had said that we had a planned application rate that we wanted to meet, and that was because we connected it to a planned application. And because of that, GoCrop says, oh, you wanted to apply this rate, and we know the spreader you're using, and so we know that your target then is 39 loads. So every time you go to the field with that particular spreader, you press the plus button. And it'll start counting down your loads, and it'll start also counting the rate per acre or gallons per acre that you have and the total amount that you're applying with each load. So that's the counter. And one of the ways to store records, my Android cast has stopped maybe. I experienced some technical difficulties, so just give me a moment to remedy this. We are connecting. Sorry. All right, we're back on. So I couldn't update this. Someone already changed the record. I'm not sure what's happened in the meantime, but we're going to close that out. So just to look a little bit more at what the app has to offer, that was one way to enter records. There's also another way to enter records, as Heather showed you, similar to just in the app. You can click on this record button here in the main menu, and we'll take a moment to load here. And it'll bring us to this all records, so not by field necessarily, and then we can add more records by pressing this plus button, and this is the same type of form that you just saw. So just to reiterate, you can access records through your field or through the main menu, just like you can see on the web browser that Heather shared earlier. So the other piece that I want to take a look at here with you before we close up shop today, just because I want to let you know other features about the app. We did a record keeping, we're in our fields. You can also view the plan you have for each of your fields. And again, we have our plans, we have the sub menu with the larger pieces, and then up above within our plan, we have these 2 toggles at the top where we can look at our plan details, and we can also look at our nutrient balance for our plan. And then for each one of our fields, we can also look at the field info. And again, this is something that you can view. There's not an ability to edit for this either at the moment. And I think that the other piece that I'll touch back on with the records for each field is you can enter your records there, but you can also check your nutrient balance up to as your balance with the records that you have put in so far. So you can look at your nutrient balance through your plan toggle of what you had planned to do, and you can also look at your nutrient balance through the records that you have put in, much like you can on the web app. And I think that concludes what I had in mind to share with you about the app.
Great, thanks, Lindsay. If anybody needs some more help with any of this, whether it's during the growing season or, anytime once you've completed your plan, please just feel free to reach out to any of us. We'd be happy to help you get going on the record keeping piece. Like I said, it is important. It makes it easier when you're updating your plan, and also allows you to, track and monitor productivity on the farm. Okay, well, I think that's it for today. The plan now is for folks to kind of wrap up their plans. And work with your service providers that have been helping you. And when you are ready, you can pass those on to me and we'll work on getting them reviewed and approved. All right. Are there any questions?
I've got a comment. This is Susan. The- This class, you can actually earn water quality credits through the Agency of Ag, and I didn't do the paperwork for people to sign in, but they've changed their system anyway, where you can self-report.
Hey,
So
Alyssa.
yeah, so if you're a certified farm and when you do your application, you can self-report, and this class is worth 6 credit hours. So you can self-report that. I just wanted to say that in case any farmer needed or wanted to do that. Thanks.
I think I'm also just going to jump on for a moment too and say that GoCrop is a great way to keep your records, but if the app doesn't work for you, there's a lot of other books that the Agency of Ag has put out. So if you're interested in a paper version, there's record keeping for nutrient applications and also record keeping for crop yields. Pen and paper is also fine, but there are required pieces of information that need to be kept to be in compliance with the Agency of Ag record keeping requirements.
And before I stop recording, I'm gonna let you know, I'm gonna open up some of those rooms. I already forgot what they're called. So you guys can work together online. Thanks. Breakout rooms.